Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody's doing well out there. I'm going to just jump right into it. As you can see by the title, I made a huge mistake, the number one mistake when it comes to being a landlord. I was hesitant to tell this story, but if somebody can learn a lesson from me, here it is. May have to do this in parts because it's a lot, and I was trying to get my thoughts together just to even start telling the story. But please, even in the comments, you don't have to tell me. I made a huge mistake. My tenants, who are now my former tenants, I didn't do a background check. I did not do a background check. When my previous tenant, this is my second time renting out my rental home. When I knew that I wasn't going to renew the lease for her, I was on several platforms just kind of looking to see what people are looking for. Sometimes people would say their price range is this, their price range is that. So I was on Facebook on one page for renters and landlords, and someone was looking for a spot in St. Pete. And I just responded to her, what area of St. Pete? St. Pete is a pretty big city. It's a mid-sized city. She never responded, but somebody came into my DMs and said that they're looking for a home in St. Pete. And obviously, they must have looked me up to see if I actually own the home, which you can do that. You know, that's not a problem. And I said, yeah, it will be for rent in February of 2023. And they were very anxious to see the home. I said, listen, she's still there. I can't show it to you until she leaves. The communication was right on. I mean, they were calling me. The place that they lived, the apartment was horrible. People would let their dogs poop in the hallway. You know, this whole story. The guy was really impressive. As a matter of fact, he sent me a flip book, which is like an electronic photo album, and it had a lot of information about him. Well, information he wanted to tell me. And some stuff I could actually Google and look up online. I could see that he had worked for Keller Williams Realty. He was a realtor. At the time, though, he said he worked at one of the cable companies here. I believe it was Spectrum that's here in town that services. Either way, I could look up his husband on the website. He's a music teacher. I can look all of this stuff up. Seemed like upstanding people. He was a good talker. And at the time, I didn't think, well, if you're a real estate agent, you got to be a good talker. You're into sales. But anyway, very impressive. He knew a lot about homes and things like that just in conversing with him. He told me how, his family, his mom had rental property, and that, on Saturday mornings, she would gather up the kids and go work on rental properties, whether repairing them or fixing them up or whatever the case may be. So, he even said, I'm not the type to call you to change a light bulb. If it's something simple, I'll just fix it myself. Of course, part of the lease would be for him to have renter's insurance. That's a requirement. But he said, if it's something simple, he's a handyman. He knows how to fix, simple things. I'm like, oh, okay. So anyway, I did rent to them. I did not get a background check. My biggest mistake. But at the time, everything was good. He was so nice. He was helpful. At one point in time, when she moved out, my plan actually was to change the flooring, to take out the carpet, because it had been there for some years. And I was either going to get tile or, what do you call that fake wood? I'm just going to call it fake wood. And with him, he was like, oh, okay, that'll be great because they didn't want carpet anyway. And I said, yeah, I was going to change it. And me being me, I had no plans to ever move back into the house anyway. So I could care less what color it is. And I said, hey, as a matter of fact, do y'all like light wood, dark wood, whatever, or fake wood? I kind of even let them choose the color as long as the price was within reason. I mean, I wasn't going to choose some way expensive, flooring or whatever. So we both kind of chose the flooring. It was flooring that was on clearance. I'm like, okay, cool. And then I had gotten my guy who does work for me to install the flooring. But to save money, I was going to pick up the flooring. And at one point in time, they needed more slabs or a couple more boxes. And my tenant said, well, he had a truck that he was moving, I believe his washer and dryer, whatever. And this is important. That's what later on in the story, you'll understand why I'm telling you this. He had a truck that he can pick up the boxes for me. So with this company, Floor and Decor, you can send a contractor, anyone, and give them permission to pick up supplies. So I sent him the link so he had permission to pick up the flooring. Okay, later on in the story, you'll understand why that's important. So everything was fine. They were there. Oh, here's another thing. They were so happy with the house and so impressed. The neighborhood was up and coming. I'm just going to say it. That neighborhood is gentrified or becoming gentrified. You got some of everybody in there. Used to be a very black neighborhood. Now it's all mixed. But that's okay. Hey, it is what it is. They were very happy with the house, with the neighborhood. They did ask me if they could change some things. And I was going to change some things, but they wanted to change some things. And I said, yeah, that's okay. So it's in the lease. That if they choose to change anything, whether it's the lighting, the vanity, whatever, do landscaping or whatever, that it's on them. They would pay for it and they get no reimbursement for me. I'm not contributing to any cost of any changes, because my thing is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The lighting worked, the ceiling fans worked, the vanity was still, up. So yeah. And the house, oh, well, I won't go into that part, but anyway, so that was part of the lease. So everything was going okay. What time? I'm at 8 minutes. I don't want this to be a long story, but everything was going okay. They had been there for a year. Has it been a year and a half? Oh, another thing. This was my fault. This was my fault. They asked for an extended lease. They initially signed for a 1-year lease. I'm like, that's standard. But they were so happy. They loved the neighborhood. They asked if they could lock in the price for a 3-year lease. I'm like, oh, okay. But again, I went on things that he said and the things that was in his flip book and the things that I saw. These are upstanding people. So we actually signed a 3-year lease. He was happy. They were happy. I'm good. So up until this summer, or this fall, I should say, everything was good. Had no issues with them. Until one day I got a call from him. He wanted to have drinks with me, wanted to meet with me and have drinks. And I said, well, for one, I'm trying to lose weight. Number two, I ain't drinking that much lately. So he went on to start talking about repairs for the house. And I'm thinking, what repairs? Well, first of all, the ceiling in the garage came down because the garage started leaking. And there were some, what do you call it, shingles that had fallen off the house because we had started to have a lot of rain, like raining almost every day. So I think I'm trying to think if it was before or after I started getting estimates for a new roof. Hold on. Okay, so it had been raining. And at that time, I believe we had already, I had already started getting estimates for the roof, calling different companies. And he became very, what's the word I want to use? Not aggressive, but forceful. Like he's getting estimates himself. And I'm like, this ain't your house. I'll get the estimates. I'll call the companies that I want to call. And then one day he called me, wanted to talk, wanted to have drinks. I already told you I'm trying to cut back on drinking, and plus I'm trying to lose weight. Anyway, he said that he found out that the city gives residents money to help fix up their house so that they can stay in their house and not get fines and all that kind of stuff. Well, my house is not in shambles, so I'm not worried about any fines. And he explained to me, he knows how to get to the top people and talk to, the manager or the supervisor, whatever. He said he talked to somebody in the city about getting money. And I said, I've heard of those programs. However, the city is not going to give a landlord money to fix up the house, especially if we're getting a profit, getting rent. That doesn't make any sense. He says, I know, but, I talked to so-and-so, and they said that all we needed was a 10-year lease. I said, a 10-year lease? And I'm just listening to him. What is he talking about? And all you have to do is get a lawyer to, all you have to do is put us on the deed of your house. You can get a lawyer to do that. And then after 10 years, you can just take us off. And I'm listening to him. I said, what? I said, I wouldn't feel comfortable with doing that. I wouldn't do that. He says, but the city is giving up to $60,000 for repairs. And I said, what repairs are you referring to? I said, I know about the roof. The roof needs to be replaced. And I said, I'm getting estimates for that. He was like, but it's $60,000. And I said, no. And he mentioned again, me putting him and his husband on the deed to my house. Like, who does that? I said, no, I wouldn't do that. And then all of a sudden, his tone changed with me. His tone changed with me. All right, well, we'll talk again. I said, okay, but in my head, what is he talking about? The deed to my house. And I had been hearing reports of people, especially here in Florida, being scammed out of their house where they can just go and lay claim to people's houses, present some kind of paperwork, and the city not even checking. Is it the city or the county? Not even checking, and where people are just laying claims to other people's houses. And you don't get notification. Well, I actually have I'm part of a notification system, but they only notify you after a change has been made. That's a whole other situation. So I thought, this man, Now, in previous conversations, he did mention that they would like to buy the house, and I would tell them, no, I'm not interested in selling. And so just in hearing the reports about people being scammed out of their house, I thought, something ain't right. Something ain't right. I don't know what they're up to, but something ain't right. So I called my financial planner, who had told me if I ever need any other type of services or whatever, because I really didn't know who to call or who to talk to about it. He says, you know what, Valerie, you need to talk to a lawyer. So he referred me to a lawyer, and he said she's good, she's top notch. He said whatever she charges, go ahead and pay her, because they sound like they're scammers. So I ended up making an appointment with her that next week. And yeah, I'll tell you about that in the next video, because it gets gooder and gooder, but it gets worse and worse all at the same time. So anyway, stay tuned for part 2. And once again, don't be like this landlord. Get a background check on everybody, no matter how nice they are, no matter what they say, no matter what you can find on Google or online. Get a background check. I'll see you guys in the next video.